Hello everybody, happy Sunday. Thank you for being here. Appreciate all of you that are here in any capacity as always. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Hope everybody's having a good day, having a good weekend, and had a good week last week. I'm going to go ahead and put the intention up here for those of you who haven't seen it. Intention comes out Friday evenings ahead of the weekly video that comes out Saturday, so that way you can have both of those to work with together before meeting here for our live meditation. So always hoping you get really, really good things out of the space that we come to here together, but I know that there's also really, really good things that you can get from your own contemplations, either just with sitting with the intention on its own, just as a standalone contemplation, or taking the intention, sitting with it for a moment, and then watching the weekly video, thinking about like what you have coming up and what's going on within your own lives. So a couple different ways that you can do it before you come here. So like to feel like we have a nice, well-rounded way to lean into the energies of the week, as well as just explore them in different ways. And you know, when we work with the energies, or we contemplate what is going on around us, or even just take a moment to stop and just think about it and just take in what is coming our way, I really feel like it builds a relationship with the energies that are around us. It creates a level of consciousness, like a level of awareness with what is around us, and you know, for me, that can only be beneficial in both situations. So here's our intention for this week. So short and sweet here, if you haven't seen it yet. Release, uncover, reset. Release, uncover, reset. 3 words. They can come together. They can come in a you know, like in order like that. You could change the order of the words. You could change the words if you needed to. I've mentioned lots of times that the intention is, you know, it's moldable, because there's a dozen different intentions or phrases that we could come up with, just like we could come up with a dozen different delineations for any transit or aspect that's going on. So feel free to change or alter if need be. So we'll sit with the intention for just a moment here before we get started. Release, uncover, reset. Release, uncover, reset. So any thoughts, any feelings, any emotions, any motivations, anything that those words make you maybe want to move towards or move away from. So we kind of have a bit of a packed week. We have some really strong energies, and it really feels like, you know, not, of course, not for every single person, but for lots of people, this week, as well as the incoming lunar cycle, could be pretty impactful and pretty important. So we're gonna look at all of that here this week, and I'm gonna go ahead and bring up the time clock, the astrology wheel, so that way we can take a peek at it quickly here together. So this is the chart of the moment now. The location is specific to where I am located here in Holland, Michigan. So the planets could be in different houses or different locations depending on where they'll be in the same sign, but there might be in a different house location depending on where you are at geographically compared to where I am at here. I do think it's interesting that, you know, the chart, when I pull up the first chart here, and it's the chart of the moment for where I'm at, right? We could look at these charts as birth charts for this specific meditation, like for this specific Sunday on July 20th, in a certain symbolic way. And and we could look at it from, even though we are all at different locations, because you know, in a way, this meditation is born or created out of the space that I'm in a way. Of course, we're all a part of it, but yeah, it's kind of like it's streamed and it comes from my location where I'm at, right? And we're going to talk about Pluto tonight, and I think it's interesting to note that Pluto is making its way to the horizon. So Pluto is going to get closer to the ascendant as we go through our meditation, and between 9:30 and 10 p.m. tonight, again based on my location, Pluto is going to rise above the horizon. So it's going to go from the position from being unseen to where it could be in the visible sky, if we were able to see Pluto. So Pluto is on the ascendant here as we move through our meditation, and that's just a symbolic nod towards the importance of Pluto here, in the way that I am seeing it here. So yeah, we have Pluto here, just a little significant within this chart. Today, we have today, tomorrow, the next day, and really throughout this week, we have Mars sitting with the South Node. So in this chart, you can see that Mars is at 19 degrees and 36 minutes. The South Node is at 20 degrees and 51 minutes of Virgo. So that you can see this in the 9th house in this chart. So we have Mars in the South Node. That is one of the things that we are going to talk about here. And then if we roll forward to the new moon that we have coming through on Thursday, you're just going to see me move this chart forward here. I'm going to stop and point out that we have a square between Venus and Mars coming through here this week. So you'll see Venus at 20 degrees of Gemini in the 6th house in this chart, and you'll see Mars at 20 degrees of Virgo in the 9th house in this chart. So there's a square that's coming through this week here for those two, and then we move through to Thursday. We'll see Wednesday here. The sun moves into the sign of Leo, and then just after that on Thursday, we're going to have the new moon in the sign of Leo. I'm going to back this up just a few hours so that way we can see where the sun and the moon are much closer to each other. We're going to back it up by minutes here to get it exact. Okay. So here we are, Thursday, July 24th, 3:10 p.m. We have the new moon coming through at 2 degrees and 8 minutes of Leo. You will see that right at the top of this chart. I like that symbolically too. Again, that's specific to my location, but we have the new moon coming through here at 2 degrees of Leo. If you look in direct opposition to that at 2 degrees of Aquarius, so take your eyes directly from the top of the chart all the way down to the bottom of the chart, you'll find yourself in the 4th house, and you'll see that we have Pluto at 2 degrees of Aquarius. So this new moon is in direct opposition to Pluto. That means that our lunar cycle is toned by a Sun-Pluto opposition here. We have a trine, a fire trine from the new moon in the sign of Leo to our planets in early Aries. So you'll find Aries in the 6th house in this chart if you find that number 6 in the center wheel. And you see that we have Saturn at 1 degree Aries and we have Neptune at 2 degrees Aries. So there's a trine from this new moon coming through to these planets here also. So these are the aspects that we are looking at here this week. All right, I like putting the chart up so that way we can just all visualize and see the chart together. If it feels overwhelming when I put the chart up, feel free to look away. This is a meditative space, right? We're coming here to relax, to contemplate, to clear our mind, to find some sort of clarity maybe, or some sort of connection. So it doesn't need to be overwhelming. So feel free to look away when I do that. But the more often that we see the chart, even in bite-sized pieces, it helps take away a little bit of that overwhelm. I remember what it was like when I would look at an astrological wheel with just even the traditional planets, and how overwhelming it could feel to look at everything together. If you look at it in bite-sized pieces and in small amounts, then it might be a little easier to handle, to digest. And just the more often that we see it, you just start to get familiar with it. You start to recognize more of the glyphs, or maybe you're able to, as I animate the wheel and move it around, maybe you're able to follow it faster, or you start to get more familiar with where the houses are, in position to the chart and things like that. And all of that can just kind of helps build that relationship. So even just small bite-sized pieces if it feels like a lot here. So our intention this week: release, uncover, reset. Release. Mars on the South Node. The South Node is our point of release. It's our point of letting go of things. It's a point of karmic fruition. So it's things, if we look at the North Node and the South Node as having something to do with our path of where we've been, where we are going, That path is very much karmic for each and every one of us, right? Where the things that we are moving towards and the things that we are moving away. And it's very specific to each and every one of us. When planets come into contact with the South Node, we are at a point of release, a point of letting go, a point of things coming to the point where they are they've served their purpose. We have gained what we need to gain out of it, and we need to move forward. Or perhaps there's something we need to let go of in order to just make space for something else. That doesn't mean that it won't possibly pop back up in the future some way. So we start out with this big release here this week. It can be a little forceful with Mars and the South Node. It can be a little bit resistive. So if the South Node wants to release and wants to let go, almost to a fault and continuously, Mars, the planet of aggression, war, the one that pushes, could be a little bit aggressive. There could be some determination and some push against whatever we're trying to release. So there could be anger that can come up. There can be frustrations. There can feel like we're trying to move in a direction and maybe something is kind of holding us back. It could feel like we are able to let go of the patterns and the habits that have made it difficult to do whatever it is that we are trying to do or whatever that is at hand. We're able to maybe move a little swifter if we are able to let go of those things. So those are the two different ways that it could go. Either we're frustrated with what we are letting go, or we are able to move into that, and we are motivated and we are determined to let go and release. We have, like I said, we have the new moon that's coming through later on this week. So we have that waning gibbous to waning crescent moon in the beginning part of this week here, where we have, while we have this conjunction that's going on. So that's another nod at things releasing, things letting go, things coming to their final resting place to be. But when things come to their final resting place, especially within the lunar cycle and the lunar phase, it's so that way a new cycle can begin, right? So it's a circle that's unbroken, and it's a movement through the cycles and through the circle of the zodiac there. So we start out this week with this big release. The new moon is a resetting point, right? So we have the reset that's there. But there's something that needs to be uncovered as well. So the new moon in the sign of Leo, it comes in, if you're in the northern hemisphere, it comes in the middle of summertime, right? It comes in the middle of July. So the new moon in the sign of Leo is this point where we are able to create things in a light, create things that feel like they have some exuberance to them, things that feel like we want to show them to the world. There can be a light that wants to be shown. This year, that new moon is opposite Pluto, the planet of shadows, the planet of darkness, the planet of hidden things, releasing and uncovering hidden things. So things that have been hidden sometimes can be difficult, right? Like maybe things that trick us, things that undermine us, things that didn't seem quite like they were, or it can just be things that have come to things that are showing their way of like how they've served their purpose and where we need to go with those things now. This new moon, although it's a resetting point, there is a heaviness, there is a weightiness. So maybe either there's something, gosh, there's so much release around this. It really just feels like there's so much to release and to let go. So the new moon in the place of creating light, creating a solar space, creating something that we want to show the world. Last week, when I talked about Mercury retrograde, I talked about that sunlight, that song, little nursery rhyme song, like this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. I had a doll that sung that, so that's one that's really in my head from when I was a kid. But that little light of yours that we want to let shine, that is Leo. But there's a shadow in opposition to that. And the shadow in opposition to that could be showing us something that we need to process or something that we need to deal with in order to let that light go forward. So that can be on the releasing aspect of it. Not everybody has big, huge, cathartic things that they are needing to release right now, right? So it could be letting go of little things, little habits. Mars conjoined South Node in Virgo specifically makes me think about habits and routines and like physical, mundane things that we can let go of, little stressors, things that bring us little things that give us anxiety. So, you know, maybe it's like caffeine intake, or organizing something so that way it's easier to find it, or you know, some sort of compartmentalizing type things with the South Node, Mars in Virgo coming through here. But if it's not that we are releasing things, we could be uncovering things that are not things that we are necessarily releasing, but things that we didn't realize were there, right? So the shadow doesn't always have to be something that we need to get rid of. The shadow isn't always bad, but it could be something that we haven't necessarily seen before. So here I'm thinking about how the word Pluto comes from the Greek meaning for like wealth or riches. So I'm thinking about the power and the determination that can come behind the planet Pluto here. So there we could be uncovering our own power or our own strength within a way. Maybe we've been doing some releasing, and Mars in the South Node is giving us that final punch of being able to step into some sort of new territory, some sort of new karmic cycle here with what we have been letting go of and what we've been bringing into our lives. And so now we're able to step into some sort of strength or some sort of power to create that new moon period, to get that Leo light to shine forth. And then, of course, it's always related to the house topics of where these signs are falling within our charts here, right? So Pluto is power. Pluto is strength. Leo is a fire sign, so it can be loud, it can be explosive, it can also be passionate, it can be creative. So there is a creative, forceful energy here with the new moon opposite Pluto. And it can be very progressively ideal. Pluto's in the sign of Aquarius, right? So it's the final air sign, so it's very mental. But Aquarius can be very forward thinking is the word that is coming to my mind, but it can be very inclusive and progressive at the same time. So while being inclusive, it can be exclusive of anything that feels like it's limiting within a way. So Aquarius does not like limits, it does not like boundaries. It likes things to be a certain way, but it doesn't like to feel limited. So the mental space could be expanding to feel like we are moving into some sort of new territory. We're expanding our mind, we're expanding our perspective, we're expanding the way we communicate with each other and the way that we interact with not only ourselves, the sign of Leo, the place of the sun, the place of the place of the soul, the place of the one, right? Then we have an opposition, we have the place of the many, we have Aquarius, the place of humanity, not necessarily just the one, the individual, but looking at the whole entire group and making sure that the whole group is moving forward. Where Leo can help others move, but there's a very central focus on it as well. So these things can be kind of pitted against each other a little bit, but the variety of what could be uncovered here is very specific to our own situation and just where we are at within our own lives. What is going on? What is your own karmic situation? What has been starting and releasing within your own life? What have been the moving parts here, right? So again, very, very individual and specific to the own person, but that strength, that power, that intensity, that possible transformation is there as a key compartment for everybody in some way. You know, with the new moon here, we have Mars sitting right there with the South Node releasing, letting go of, you know, maybe hopefully we're not, you know, maybe we're resisting. I was going to say hopefully not, but maybe we're not quite ready to let go of what is trying to release itself away from us, right? Like that's totally possible too. And then the full moon that's going to come around in a couple weeks, we'll talk about this then, but Mars will then be sitting in the early degrees of Libra, and it will be sitting in opposition to Saturn, another planet that can be related to karmic cycles and the paradigms. You know, and Neptune will be sitting right there too. So this lunar cycle is very toned with with Mars in the way of like acting and moving in ways that line within our karmic cycles that we are within, right? Like those lessons that you are learning, those things that you are moving through, those experiences that you are having. Mars can be very, very determined and very, very precise, very, very dialed in. So some of those things, those karmic cycles and those different processes that we are all in, I feel like for many of us could be coming to light over this next lunar cycle. So not only just through the new moon that begins this week Thursday, but through through the 4 weeks that follow that. So that's why I say that this lunar cycle could be very important for many people. And a lunar cycle that begins in the sign of Leo can feel very personal because it's the sun, right? It's our soul, it's our individual being, it's that solar light that shines all the time, right? Like when the sun is shining, it outshines just about everything else in the sky, right? So there's that individual focus here right at the beginning. But Pluto's in the sign of Aquarius. The full moon's going to be in the sign of Aquarius. Anytime that we look at the individual or we focus on our own energy, we are also called to picture the greater picture, or picture not just ourselves but humanity at the same time. Maybe not at the same time, but within due time, right? Like, so just as the full moon eventually comes from the new moon, after the new moon, in time we'll be called to see the Aquarian view, not just the Leo view, right? And you get that across all axes through each lunar cycle as we go through the zodiac too. So it's not just that's not just this new moon and full moon here. So yeah, this is the things that I am thinking about here as we are coming into this week. I'm thinking about releasing things in order to ahead of moving into this reset, but then also what are we uncovering? Are we uncovering things that need to be released? Are we uncovering things that can be a little difficult and a little cathartic to release, right? Like the transformation that comes from Pluto is not the easy, rosy, bubbly transformation, but with transformation, you are typically better off on the other side, even if you've had to kind of like go through some shit in order to get there. Again, that new moon is in trine to Saturn and Neptune, so there's another level of that weighty focus with Saturn there. Saturn will set you straight, but Neptune will allow you to let go or release, just like the South Node will. So I feel like Saturn and Neptune, they both bring that determined focus. Neptune in the South Node here in different ways, or through different aspects, allow us to release, allow us to let go. Pluto is uncovering here. What is it uncovering? Is it things of the unconscious? Is it things that are unseen? Is it power, strength? Is it determination? Is it our own stamina? Is it uncovering some sort of primal force or energy that is bubbling within you? Something that feels like you just haven't been able to turn your head away from it, or if you do, it just kind of keeps knocking at the door. Pluto may show you that this is the lunar cycle to open that door and to shine that Leo light on whatever is trying to come into the sphere. And then again, looking at the house topics, so looking at where Leo is in your chart. The opposite house will be the sign of Aquarius. Looking at where Virgo is. We've been paying some attention to Virgo Pisces axis within our chart anyways, because that's where the eclipses are happening. And before you know it, we'll be rolling back into eclipse season here too. So what is it that you have to release, and then what can you uncover as you reset something? I'm thinking that each and every one of us, for the most part, are having something come to mind of a process that you are working through here. And if we look at the house where Leo is, we had Mars retrograde through there. So, this year has had a focus on the Leo house within our chart. And the Leo house in our chart is always ruled by the sun sign, right? Ruled by the sun. Leo, the house where we find the sign of Leo, is always ruled by the sun. So there is the house topics where Leo is in your life, where that Leo energy plays out, there is a natural louder voice or desire for a louder voice, most likely in that house. It's the place of the king, right? It's the royal sign. So there is a focus of wanting to do really well in this area, or doing well, or wanting to be able to voice ourselves. So whether or not we are able to, that is another story, but there is an energy of light. There is an energy of loudness and, maybe some sort of extroverted energy where Leo is within our own chart. So looking at that there. Yeah, so those are the things that I'm thinking about here as we're coming into this week. The cards that came up, yes, there's two of them. The first one was the Queen of Swords, but reversed. And I just asked for a follow-up. And then what did we get? We got another Queen card. So we got two Queens that were reversed. First we had the Queen of Swords, and then we have the Queen of Pentacles, but they both came in the reverse position. So I thought that was interesting, because there's something that is resisting or something that is releasing with the reverse cards, right? And it's a feminine energy. It's a softness that we need to allow to come in. So now I'm thinking about Mars with the South Node. I'm thinking about that gruff and that little abrasiveness that could come. Also with Saturn, right? We talked about how Mars is going to be opposite Saturn at the full moon here. So allowing some sort of feminine energy. When I think of feminine energy, I think of something a little bit more subtle. I think about something internal, something that comes from within rather than something that comes from an external source. So looking within and finding the reflection of our soul and of that light. So finding that power within here. As I'm looking at these two cards, where can we find that power within us? And then that makes me think about the sign of Leo. Even though Leo is a masculine sign, looking for that power, but bringing the Queen card. So looking within, cultivating some sort of balance, self-awareness, and having some sort of level of maturity are the things that I think about with these cards coming up. So as we are releasing and as we are resetting, how can we remember to stay poised, and how can we cultivate that power within while still remaining balanced and having a level of self-awareness, a level of reflection at the same time. I think about the need for clarity. I think about the need to tend to the energetic mind here with the Queen of Swords coming through, but also needing to tend to our resources, into the more tangible things with the Queen of Pentacles coming through here, representing the Earth sign. So if I bring the two together, the Queen of Swords and the Queen of Pentacles, this high court feminine energy coming together in the reverse position, it's like, what are the thoughts that we have and the processes that are going through our mind? How can we bring that into the physical world? How can we bring that into reality and into something tangible? It's like the energy is there, but it's reversed. So are we resisting it, or have we just not quite reached the spot where we are coming to this energy quite yet? But when I first saw these two, the first words that came to my mind were find the power within. So that new moon opposite Pluto, new moon in Leo opposite Pluto, the light within us in the sign of Leo, Pluto, that strength. It might mean that we need to release something. It might mean that we need to let go of something. It might mean that things pop up that were unexpected. But the Queen cards here are showing me that you have a strength. You have a subtle power and a subtle strength that maybe is so subtle that even you don't necessarily realize that it's there. Or maybe it's something that we have forgotten that it's there. Remember, we have Mercury in retrograde through this too. We talked about that last week. So matters of the heart, realigning the heart and the mind here together. This new moon in the lunar cycle is very much a part of or maybe not a part of, but happening at the same time as that cycle is rolling through here too. So yeah, you know, I really liked that little bit of a lull that we had last week. Like I said, it felt like a rest period that's kind of allowing us to slowly roll into this energy. So it feels very supported, but it feels like it could be some real strong energy for some people. For some people, it could be, you know, very cathartic and very, you know, bringing up things that are hard to process. But once we get through them, you know, it could lead us someplace, someplace that we haven't been before, right? It can be very strong and very empowering for some of us. The sun is strong, Pluto is strong, right? So we could feel the wealth, we could feel the riches coming through here. So yeah, very, very strong energy that we have coming through here, and I'm looking forward to see what this lunar cycle brings. I'm taking a look in the comments. Hi Kim, I'm glad you're back tonight too. Thanks for being here. We're going to get ready to move into the meditation portion. If there's things that you feel coming into the sphere, bring those into the meditation. If there's things that you feel coming in that you need to release, let them go and allow them to stay outside of the meditative space, right? When we have the power of Pluto, we can reach into those we can reach into those shadowy type spaces, those spaces that are a little less seen. But we can also walk away from those spaces at the same time, right? We can have that strength and not be scared of the dark, to like be able to either get through it or say, this is not the space I'm going to be in, and be able to move on, compared to like being frightened or being afraid, right? There's definitely could be some, a little bit more, lack of a better word, scary things that could pop up with Pluto here. So I'm going to go ahead and move the intention out of the way here. I'm going to take that down, and then we have our intentional candle. Not a whole lot on the table tonight. I don't know. I guess maybe I've been in a clearing space too. I feel like I'm in a big reset space because I am right in the midst of my Venus return. I'm kind of starting to come off of that, but Venus rules my sun and my moon. So I feel like I have been in a resetting period, and now I feel like we have this another resetting period. So I'm just really thankful for the resets that I've been feeling lately. So that just in turn leads to just not a whole lot of stuff on the table here. Just leaving the energy for clearing. So as always, we have our intentional candle. It's white, clarity, purity, blank slate, so that way you can bring in any intention that you need to, or any energy that you need to. Clear any energy that you need to, right? So I'm going to light the intentional candle, and as I do so, I'm going to recite our intentional phrase. As I recite the phrase, I encourage you to go ahead and join me if you feel comfortable doing so. If you don't want to say it out loud, you can write it down, you can say it within your head, whatever works for you. So I'm going to light the intentional candle. And as I do so, the flame ignites. As the flame ignites, it begins to grow. As the flame grows, so does our intention. Release, uncover, reset. Release, uncover, reset. Good. Now, if you haven't already, I invite you to come to a nice seated, comfortable position. If seated doesn't work for you, then you may lay down or find any position that works for you with the space that you are in right now. If you're ready to do so, you may go ahead and close your eyes. If you're not quite ready to do so, that's okay too. Attempt to soften the gaze, relax the eyes, perhaps allow your gaze to fall wherever it whatever direction that it naturally falls. And perhaps you can attempt to not necessarily focus on any one specific image or thing that is in front of you, but just kind of gaze beyond whatever it is that you see in front of you. Looking and gazing and taking in, but not focusing too intently on what's in front of you. If at some point your eyes relax enough and begin to close, and you feel comfortable with that, allow the process to happen. If your eyes do not close throughout this meditation, that's okay as well. Take what serves you well, leave the rest behind. And as we start to begin to settle into this space, let's begin by turning our attention towards the breath. As we turn our attention towards the breath and we begin to notice and recognize where our breath is at this moment, there may be an urge or even an unconscious reaction to start to alter the breath, start to change it, start to attempt to improve it. Before we make any changes, I encourage you to sit with your breath as it is in this very moment. So as we turn our attention towards the breath, begin by noticing, acknowledging the breath as it moves in and out of your body. Notice if it feels like the breath that comes in is full and complete, or if it feels like there's still some empty space. Are your lungs able to fully inflate or not quite? As you exhale, is the breath slow and steady, or does it feel rushed in any way? Just notice what you notice without changing anything. When we take the time to sit with the breath and acknowledge it and observe it, but without attempting to change the breath, then there's a certain level of honoring the breath that occurs in that moment. Now there is a path that has led to the quality of your breath in this moment, whether it feels full and complete or lacking in any way. And that path are the events, the experiences, the thoughts that you have encountered. The events of the day, the events of the week, of this month, of this year, of your entire lifetime. Every moment, every experience has brought you to this very moment. And every single experience, thought, and environment that you've been in, it has all played a role in the quality of breath that you carry in this moment. So when we honor the quality of the breath, we're not only honoring this sacred moment that we are in. But you are also honoring the path, the experiences that have come before you in this life. With that honoring comes a level of connection that you can't get any other way. So here we release any preconceived conceptions of what the breath should feel like. We release any judgments of faults that have led you to this moment. As Mars sits with the South Node, there may be forceful release. There may be things coming up that are difficult to deal with. There may be aggression seen in ourselves or others. But there also may be a motivation to move forward, to allow something to fall away within the sign of Virgo. If there's something that needs to fall away, something to release, perhaps it isn't completely the end of the presence or the goodness that we get from the thing that is releasing. There could be great memories. There could be services that have been provided, purposes that have been served, lessons that have been learned. Perhaps even things that have been so close that we hold on tight and don't really quite know if we're ready to release it yet. So what if releasing doesn't always mean the end of the thing? What if it allows us to uncover something else or a new way of interacting with whatever the thing is? What if a new understanding, a new level of connection is unearthed and rises up from the depths, rises up from the underworld, along with Hades, showing you power, showing you wealth, showing you determination, showing you an empire of experiences, lessons, and understandings. Perhaps you start to feel towers of the empire that is your life rising around you. Your strengths and your powers. Even those difficult experiences that are a part of life for each and every one of us. Feel the power of the force behind you. Perhaps you start to feel symbolic towers of power rising up around you as you uncover and unleash new levels of thought, new levels of processing, new levels that can be brought into physical, tangible manifestations. Can you picture the wealth and the power that fills the towers around you in the area of your life that has been in focus? If you know where Leo falls within your own chart, can you feel the power building within this house, within the areas of life that Leo rules within your life and within your chart? May you feel the strength of your own power within. May you be able to cultivate balance and a self-awareness. May you find clarity. Clarity that you can bring into a tangible form. Perhaps clarity and understanding that can lead to a creative expression being born. As you feel these towers of power around you, lifting up from the ground, on your sides, behind your back, perhaps in front of you. You feel the strength coming up from the ground, so strong that it almost feels like it's coming from within the earth, reaching up high, high into the sky. Perhaps you can't even see the top of them. Perhaps you can. Meanwhile, as this power and strength develops around you, you notice a light coming from within your being, a light that is growing from within your chest. Slowly, as you breathe in and out, that light grows, gets bigger and bigger, expanding away from your being till it goes out into the ethers, moving around all of the towers around you, moving through all the shadows, swiftly, confidently, and illuminating. And with the strength and with the light, you reset. And you find yourself in a space where you are ready to move forward. You give thanks for the time with the South Node. You give thanks for the time with Pluto, Hades, the Lord of the Underworld. And you give thanks for this moment to create a light, a royal Leo solar light. And remember that we have aspects to Saturn at the new moon and the full moon. Saturn likes to build what will last. So what is the light that you can build that will last and outshine any darkness that's around you? Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you for being here. I appreciate all of you so very much. I appreciate this space because the whole process of the intention, creating the intention and putting together the space and all of the little background things, it creates a relationship that another level of the relationship that I wouldn't have if it wasn't for all of you being here. So thank you, thank you, thank you for what you guys bring to this space. And hopefully you get something really, really good out of this space here too. So yeah, we have things going on this week, right? Mars in the South Node. New moon opposite Pluto. Yeah, you know, the sun's going to make a sextile to Uranus, so there's a little extra maybe bravery or a little maybe ability to step out of the box, or a little extra creativity that is there. But there's also this strong energy, and for a lot of people, releasing is hard, letting go is hard. Mars is hard, right? So there can be some stuck energy here that maybe needs to be kind of forced out in a way. Pluto can show us things that are not necessarily easy. Yes, there is wealth, there is riches, there is power, there is determination, but there's also what we hide from. There is that which is hiding from us. So there is great power, but there is also great power, yet great struggle. There can be power struggles, right? So be mindful, stay aware. You know, if the Queen energy is reversed and we need to flip it upside down, and we need to maybe make sure we have that self-awareness and we can cultivate that balance and that clarity between the energetic and the physical world. You know, that's important here this week. So I hope everybody has an absolutely lovely, wonderful week. I will see you all on the other side of the new moon next Sunday. And yeah, there will be a new weekly video that'll come out next Saturday, intention next Friday. So check out all of that, and I will see you here next Sunday. So yeah, everybody have a great week, and thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate all of you. Blessings to each and every one of you. Thank you, and good night.